The ambitious Punani perspective. Okay, some of my favorite people in the entire world are black women. Get into it. My other favorites are black men, but that's not the point right now. Okay? I just love black people with my whole heart.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Naysay with the Punani Perspective. This is the channel where pop culture meets history. I hope you enjoy today's show.
Today's title is reflective of who I am as a person. Today's title is indicative of what I'm feeling in the world today, right? It comes from the legendary poet laureate, Miss Toni Morrison, who said, somebody has to take responsibility for being a leader. Is that person you? Are you going to take responsibility for being a leader? Well, I am. I love being in a leadership position. I welcome it. It's not a challenge. It's my responsibility. As you can see, I have chosen Toni Morrison to open up my show. And she wrote that I wrote my first novel because I wanted to read it. So what that means to me is if you have something to say and no one has said it before, then you say it. You put it out there, right? She said before, somebody has to take responsibility for being a leader. So if you have something inside of you, burning, yearning to get out, you push it out there. That is why I am here every week, because I have something to say. And I hope someone out there with a little bit of influence, of course more than I have, can see any of my videos and say, you know what, let me give this young woman a shot. Okay, so here we go. Black stories should be told by black people first. The reason I say this is because we understand our experiences better than anyone else. We understand all the hurt, all the pain, and all the anguish up close and personal. Not from the cheap seats in the nosebleed section, but from the expensive seats on the floor. Not from standing on the sidelines, but actually being in the game. So, after we show the world our story, then, we'll let them do it. And they always do, right? They always copy what we do, right? Just think about it this way. Our beautiful, illustrious, poised to perfection First Lady Michelle Obama gave a wonderful speech. And this orange-faced clown's immigrant wife, Melania, stole her speech and then tried to pass it off as her own. So, with that being said, how in the hell can a white writer, no matter how proficient, how in the hell can they write from the perspective of the black person, of the black man, of the black woman, of the black child? They can't. Simple and plain. They cannot write from our perspective. They will always have to consult with a black person for guidance. So what this tells me is that they lack the emotional fortitude, they lack the connectivity and the realness to execute this task. Yet they do it over and over again. A white man cannot tell our story. And when they do, it's unauthentic. It is make-believe. So my quote for today comes from the legendary Miss Dorothy Dandridge, who once said, if I were white, I could capture the world. Think about it this way. Miss Dorothy Dandridge was out at a time when Marilyn Monroe and Rita Hayworth and, all of these white iconic women were around. So she got pushed to the back. As beautiful as Miss Dandridge was, as talented as she was, she even knew that her blackness was something that held her back. So she said, if I were white, I could capture the world. But she also said, I can't play a slave. And that's phenomenal to me because to this end, Mr. Denzel Washington, right? He said he had a conversation with the legendary Mr. Sidney Poitier about what roles he should embark on, what roles he should take, on his journey as a Hollywood megastar. And Mr. Poitier schooled him and said, let me tell you something. I didn't take certain roles because my obligation to my people was greater than the role that was being offered to me. So he told Denzel Washington, whatever role you take, you do not want to play a role that will pigeonhole you and you only play that role forever. For instance, don't play a slave, don't play a drug dealer, don't play anything degrading. So if you look at Denzel's body of work, when he did play a slave in the movie Glory, which he ultimately won a supporting actor award for, he was the strongest character in that movie, albeit a slave, but the strongest no-nonsense one, right? He did not back down to anything. And then, when I don't know if you remember the scene when he ran away and they whipped him on his back, he stood there and he looked that man square in his eye. Square in his eye. Pain is pain. So yeah, a little trickle, a tear came down his eye, but he stood there strong, right? So when he played all of the phenomenal leaders, you know, the Malcolm X and Hurricane and all of these great movies, he got nominated but didn't win. So we already know the science behind that. But when he got nominated for the crazy drug dealing guy in Training Day, the cop, right? Quote unquote a bad role, but yet a strong character, you know, forceful. Some people, to include myself, some points in that movie, you were actually rooting for him, right? And you know, he was a dirty cop. So Denzel's roles, although you can look at them as almost the same character, they're chosen by design. He is not laying down with the enemy. Get what I'm saying? A lot of movies he co-starred with white women and he decided, there's no reason for me to kiss these women. Think about it. So I love that about him. White people cannot handle equality. Dig what I'm about to tell you. They don't believe in equality. And I believe that thought process is ingrained in their DNA. Perhaps they don't even realize it, especially the youth. Perhaps they don't even realize that they cannot deal with equality. What are you saying, Nay? All right, this is what I'm saying. For generations, dig it. They have been taught at home and in school that they are better than, that they have achieved more, and that they have created everything. White people have been taught this, right? From birth. They believe in their own lies. What am I saying? I'm going to tell you. Every white person believes that Christopher Columbus discovered America. Everyone. From here to there to over there. Every white person believes that Christopher Columbus. You can say, how do you discover something that was already discovered? The people were here. Oh no, he discovered it. They will stand by that. Oh no, they invented the light bulb. Oh no, they invented the damn mailbox. Oh no, they invented the stoplight. Oh no, they invented Jack Damn Daniels. You understand what I'm saying? White people have convinced themselves that they have created everything to include building the damn pyramids. Okay? Get out of here. So that's why it's ingrained in their DNA. They actually believe they are better than you and I. No, they are not. So this is why they refuse to come to grips with the blackest president we've had. And I'm not talking about President Obama. I'm talking about his wife. You understand? The influence of a wife on a husband is great. Particularly when that man loves and adores his wife, right? So we already know that President Obama is half black, right? Straight from Kenya, and his mother's from Kansas, right? So we already know that. But it's Michelle. You dig what I'm saying? It's Michelle Obama. Because when she said, my family, she traced it back to Georgetown, South Carolina, as slaves. Built this. This is the first time I can be proud of my country. You understand what I'm saying? When I say president title, when I say they are afraid and they couldn't come to grips with the first black president, that's Michelle Obama. All black. Okay? Little kink to that hair, little curl, little thigh, little hip, little all that, right? That's what they were afraid of. Her forcefulness and her dominance and her influence over her husband. They can't come to grips with Venus and Serena. Two young black girls out of Compton, you know, with that strong father. They tried to make their father sound crazy. Their father was a great man, a great father, a great influence. And he took his daughters to greatness. And they did not compromise on their blackness. I don't care who they're dating. Let's be clear about that. All right. But all I'm telling you is this. That strength, that unity, that togetherness, that is what they are afraid of. They ain't ready for no damn equality. And believe it or not, they were even afraid of Tiger Woods at one time. Okay, at one time. They've always had his mind. They just didn't realize it. Do you remember when Tiger Woods won his first Masters? He was a young man, I think the youngest ever. And Fuzzy Zeller, some old racist white man, asked, because the winner of the Masters chooses the ceremonial meal. And he said, oh, so what are we going to have? Fried chicken and watermelon? Y'all don't remember it? Google it. Look it up. Fuzzy Zeller. I don't know if he's still alive. I hope he's dead. I hope he's with the maggots. But all I'm saying to you is, he asked, what will we be eating for the ceremonial meal? Watermelon and fried chicken? So that's what they're afraid of, okay? So, people of color gaining in multiple areas, it really frightens white people. Because the one privilege, the singular privilege that poor whites have in common with rich, well-to-do, wealthy, ultra-wealthy whites is the color of their skin. That pale, sun-deprived, melanated less skin has gotten them over hills when they couldn't even walk. They didn't even have feet and knees. But that skin color has gotten them over. They could be the worst Jim Bobs in the hills of West Virginia. But the color of their skin supersedes your intelligence, your intellect, your education, your residence, your pedigree, your background, the color of their dirty white skin. Dig that. One of my faves, Richard Pryor, said this: I went to Zimbabwe. I know how white people feel in America now. Relaxed. Because when I heard the police car, I knew they weren't coming after me. He said, I went through every phone book in Africa and I didn't find one goddamn Pryor. So what that says to me is, listen, when you go back home, not to your grandmama house down in North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia. When you go home to the motherland, someplace you probably never been before, you feel at peace, right? And you should feel at peace in your home. Your home should be your sanctuary, right? So when you come into your humble abode, you relax, you chill. Ain't nothing wrong in your place of solitude. So just marinate on that. White exceptionalism. Not. It doesn't exist. And here's my breakdown. White people listen to what I'm saying, are not expected to do well. They're just expected to be in charge. Do you understand what I'm saying? They're not expected to do well. They're expected to be in charge. Remember that white chick, maybe last year, a year and a half ago, who didn't have the grades. Her grades didn't cut the mustard and she couldn't get into the University of Texas. And she blamed her ineptitude on affirmative action. She said, I didn't get into the university because all the black people got in, and they only got in because of affirmative action, because the blacks didn't have the grades. Remember her? I can't even remember her name. Her grades were not good enough. So then she switched. Boop. I'm going to switch from my grades not being enough to my legacy option because, family members went to the school, so she thought she could get in on that. And that still was not good enough for her. So guess what she did? She went, and this is what all white people do. And if you don't like the white people, then you know what? Screw you. Because I don't like what you do, all right? So she went straight to the 4 whites only playbook. You know that whites only playbook, which is entitled, When All Else Fails, Blame the Blacks. She went straight there. It's like a playbook. You can see it. Okay, first they're going to say all this, and then they're going to say that, and then they're going to say, it's the blacks, like Trump. It's the Mexicans. It's everybody else's fault except theirs, right? They are never expected to do well. They're only expected to be in charge. Piano keys. What is this, Naomi? What is piano keys? On a piano, you have keys. Some are white, some are black. People like to say, everything is not black and white. It absolutely is black and white. And I'm going to tell you why it absolutely is black and white. I am clearly black, right? You cannot mistake me for white at all, right? I can be 5 blocks away from you. You can have a strong telescope and you can see She's black. You not only know I'm black, you know I'm female, right? Now, you take someone who's, let's say, Spanish. But they're on the lighter version of Spanish. They're not Dominican, because Dominicans are darker than me. But you take someone who's of a lighter persuasion, right? A Puerto Rican. And you put them standing next to me 5 blocks away. What do they look like? You would know. You'd be, she could be this, or he could be that. It's very, But if that was a white woman, clear as day white woman, up close and personal, you put her 5 blocks away, standing right next to me, clearly, she's white, right? So you never know. So there is nothing better than saying black and white, piano keys. That's right. Food for thought, people. Will our neighborhoods that were affected, currently being affected by gentrification, which were once called ghettos, inner cities, and urban areas. Those things didn't even sound good. But will those neighborhoods, our neighborhoods, now that gentrification is running amok, will they get a new moniker along with that new makeover? Will they be called something else? And if so, what? Bed-Stuy. What is it going to be called? Because I used to live in a part of Bed-Stuy. I lived in Bed-Stuy, quote unquote. And then I used to live in a part of Bed-Stuy that was called Stuyvesant Heights. When I lived in Brownsville, I lived in Brownsville. But then I lived in a part of Brownsville that was Ocean Hill. Okay? So, what will these ghettos, urban areas, inner cities be called now? Will they be called something fabulous? Like, I don't know. I can't even think like that. Because, white people are diabolical. I have to sit down and really write this thing down. What will they be called? I really want to know. Because when white people moved it, they're not going to call them ghettos anymore. I just want you to think about that. And get back to me. Give me some feedback. I love you. I'm always love you. I'm a black woman. I got your back. See you next week.
And this is Naysay with the Punani perspective. It is my promise to all of you that I will do my best to enlighten and inform and to make you proud. It is my perspective. Peace and blessings. I love you. See you next week. Mwah!
Okay? I just love black people with my whole heart.